Australia is a very special place on planet Earth. You can tell I'm passionate about North America. This event that you're having is a leadership event. I know of no other country that's had a Linking Landscapes Forum like this, with this quality of people in the room, with this kind of planning and exercise, and this chance for transformational change. What you do matters not just to Australians, but to the entire world. And I want to leave you with this thought. This is a picture of tailor's waste from a stream side in India, which were just tossed there, but I thought it was a really interesting image of our world. It's beautiful, but it reflects a world that's in tatters, that's unraveled. Our task in the beginning of the 21st century is to build a new world out of the tatters of the last. The 20th century was not a successful century. We changed the climate. We emptied the ocean of fishes. We extinguished many cultures. We had horrible wars and genocides. We need a better world. And connectivity conservation, large landscape conservation, is fundamental to the reconception of the human relationship with the world. It harkens back to an Aboriginal conception of the world, but it needs to be part of where we go as a species in the 21st century. And tomorrow night, I'll share some more thoughts with you about the broader philosophy of that. Thank you very much.
Well, the call to action is about acknowledging landscape connectivity as an issue. It's for me, it's been not about there's one perfect model or one perfect role, but it's about being situational in terms of moving towards it. But it's also the call to action is the call to action. Do something. Don't just talk, don't just plan, but move into the space of doing things that will move towards the ultimate connectivity that we want.
So what is being said here is there a degree of urgency associated with doing something and managing that change. So managing that change means, in the instance of connectivity conservation, keeping our large natural landscapes intact. So for example, the Great Eastern Ranges on the east coast of Australia, spanning 2,800 kilometres from Atherton all the way to the Australian Alps, it's been there for 80 million years. Dinosaurs roamed the forests of the Great Eastern Ranges 80 million years ago. It's been intact forever, basically, and why should we see that large intact landscape be fragmented? Fragmented usually means the extinction of species, and we just can't permit that. This conference is targeting decision makers from the Commonwealth to the states to individual property owners, empowering them and hopefully looking at ways which we can actually conserve these large connectivity areas this country has.
Yeah, we're very keen to work together with the conservation movement and with land managers to do very good planning. Where is the best place for tourism? How are we going to connect up the landscape to protect our biodiversity and protect those attractions and assets that are going to get people coming along, spending money in town, spending money on conservation as well, but absolutely loving it while they're doing it.
I think one of the very enlightening part of the conference has been hearing from the Indigenous land managers up in the Kimberley, because the Kimberley is an area where we like to go as tourists, but it was just wonderful to hear what the local people are doing up there and the challenges that they're facing in that remote area. That was a highlight for me.
Well, I think what's in common with a lot of these sort of events is people talking about sustainable land management and all the rest of it, and how 70% of the country is managed by private landholders. Well, there's a bit of reluctance to use the terms farmers and agriculture and food production, and I think that's pretty interesting, because ultimately you've got to go out and talk to farmers to make this stuff happen, because they're the people who are going to be doing it mostly.
I think one of the things that I've found really interesting is how much work there is going on across Australia. It's amazing wrap-up of all the activity that's underway, and there really is a momentum for developing connected landscapes, which is fantastic.
Things are getting worse because of climate change, that many of our efforts in conservation in the past, though successful in the short term, are not halting the decline. And there's this moment where we've got to say, listen, you've got to change gear. You've really got to treat this as a crisis that is of species extinction that's a bit like the global financial crisis. We've got to say that a new urgency has got to be injected into government policy and community action, or we are going to be in a lot of trouble indeed. Now, it's quite strange because a meeting like this with so many people who are committed and have profound understanding is one that will give you a lot of hope. But that hope is against a background of really, really serious problems that are arising in the face of now increasing climate change, and well, that's what we've got to address.
And we have simply got to stop the destruction of wild nature all over planet Earth. We can't just continue, if you remember that slide I showed, marching across the landscape with Liberty or Queen Victoria or whoever with saying, oh, we're just going to keep civilizing and having progress, because we've already passed the threshold of progress. We're into a downward spiral. But we can reverse it by just being honest and putting out there what all of us here know. I'm going to bet I'm shocking nobody about what they know to be the truth, but I'm saying things that people haven't necessarily heard somebody say before. But I bet you every one of you knows what I'm saying is the case. Every one of you. Now I'm inviting every one of us to speak up and say the case. Protect at least half of planet Earth, stop climate change at 350, and anything else won't do. It won't do. It's not about competing interests. It's not about me being unreasonable in my sector, wanting too much. It's not about me keeping in my place. It's about me caring enough about the 21st century, about me, and I would invite all of you, having enough conviction in the 21st century to speak the truth and to say, we can do this. And in our field, we know how to do this protection of the environment stuff, and we're pretty good at it. And we know the tools. We just had the entire brain trust of Australia conservation together for 2 days agreeing that this is what we need to do. So let's do it. This is our moment. This is the time we have to step up. Yeats's poem ends like this. What rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born? Something bad will slouch towards Bethlehem to be born unless we are there ahead of time with something good. I think that's what we've been doing the last 2 days. Thank you very much for including us in this.